Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Blake for being here first. Appreciate that. I do see that you're here for the discount code, and you're going to need to stay tuned till the very end to receive that information. So do stay tuned. So I do want to thank you for coming in here this evening. I do see that we've got a couple of you in here, and want to get started. So anyway, the purpose of my live this evening, I had saw a post on Facebook pertaining to an electrical issue, and I thought, you know what, that would be a great live to have, because it's more than just having the proper protection for your RV. There's a lot more that goes to it. So we're going to go over this with us, and hopefully you'll learn a couple of things here this evening. Good evening, Roy, and good evening, Kathy. Appreciate you all joining us here this evening. So let's get started. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to see if I can figure this thing out here. Let's see. I think I want to go there, if I'm not mistaken. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to come over here. So what happened was, let me see if I'm starting to share here. Here we go, sharing. See if I can get this where it is larger for you so that you can actually see it. And I want to move it up a little bit. So hopefully you're able to see what I have put over here. Let me see if that makes it any bigger. Try this again here. Again, I'm still just trying to learn how this stuff works. So as you can see, this is a connection for an RV. Now this is one, if you have a cord that you don't connect, so if you're just pulling it, if you're pulling the cord out of your sidewall, you don't have to worry about this part here. This is the connection going to the camper. And what causes this is not having it secured. And so what happens is you'll get an arc, and that could cause a fire. These people were actually pretty lucky that they didn't actually totally catch on fire their camper. Just to show you a little bit of what their other part looked like. This is where they were connecting to. And let me just make that a little bigger for you. So that is what they were connecting it to. And you can see it arced in there. So that's where you could have actually had a fire. So what you want to do when you have a cord that looks like this, whether it be a 30 amp or whether it be a 50 amp cord, you can see this. You have you've got to put these on and twist them. So you got to put it on, and then it twists a little bit, and then you want to lock it down with that black part. Some of them might be white, but you want to tighten that down to make sure that it's not moving. That will ensure that you have a good connection. So that's very important. Now, of course, your 50 amp cord, a little bit heavier and a little bit harder to go ahead and get that put in there. But on the 50 amp ones, they'll have a little metal piece, as you can see, that you've got to go ahead and hook up on the one end. You can see it right there. That has got to hook up. There's a metal piece inside of the 50 amp one. So be sure that when you have these lockable electrical cords, that you are connecting them tightly. It's very important. So has anybody else had that particular type of an issue? So that's just something. Let me just I want to see who else was in the room here. We had take a look here. This way here I won't have. So I saw, of course, New Vision came in. They were first. Appreciate you coming in here. Roy, appreciate you coming in. Kathy came in third here. And of course, I know there might be some of you out here watching and you're not able to comment. And that's because what you need to do is you need to sign up for a YouTube account. And then that way there I can see that you're here in the room. George Danik up there in Michigan. Hope everything's going well for you up there, sir. Thrifty Angela, a good thing. I'm glad you made it here. Thank you for stopping by. We have Gary from Daydream About Nice Things. Thank you for stopping in, sir. You always have a great show that goes on there. And every now and again when I'm at work and see you on, I do try to pop in if I'm able to. We have Tomcat Falco. Appreciate you all coming in here. I know I'm calling you after the show here. Over a couple things with you. Lewis outside from down there in Florida. Appreciate you stopping in. Roberto, my buddy down there in Florida. Glad to see you're here. Wayne. And then, of course, James Cantonese. Hey, appreciate you all stopping in here this evening. Let me get on to the next portion pertaining to surge protection. Well, this actually coincides with electrical issues with RVs. What we have is when we're talking about surge protection, you want to make sure that you have the proper surge protection. There is a number of different surge protectors out there. And I'm going to go through 3 different ones that I would recommend and tell you why. And then there's one other thing that has come to light over the past month that kind of piqued my interest, and I want to try the product out and hope that it does work the way it says it's going to work, because I'm pretty interested in the concept, because it is a pretty cool concept. So if you are looking at a surge protector, the one thing you want to ensure that you have is one I always say it's an EMS. It's an electrical, it's more of a system that's going to go ahead and protect you not only for surges, but it's going to protect you for low voltage, for open grounds, open neutrals, miswiring, and reverse polarity. Because those are the things you're going to run into an issue more than a surge out there in a campground is low voltage, something's miswired, whether it should be an open ground, an open neutral, or reverse polarity. The chance of you running into a surge is minimal, or less chance that you're going to have that issue. So if you don't, I think you're just throwing your money away if you are not getting the additional protection that I feel that you need. You know, when we're talking about, I know when I started doing my seminars back in 2006, RV use and maintenance seminars at local campgrounds, I would ask people, how many of you all have surge protectors for your TVs at home? And everybody raised their hand. And then I'd ask people, how many of you all have surge protection for your RV? And it was like nobody. Yet, you know, they would spend, back in the day, I mean, heck, those TVs are pretty darn expensive, you know, spending $1,000 or $1,500 for a TV, and then they're spending $50 or maybe $100 for a surge protector. So when you're looking at the percentage of the cost, they're spending 5 to 10% of the cost of the unit for surge protection. And, you know, and the funny thing about it, that's the only thing it's protecting is surges, right? When I'm talking about surge protection for your RV, it's protecting you for a whole heck of a lot more. And you're talking about spending maybe 2 to 3% of the cost of your RV, if not less. It really comes down to how much you're spending, right? So SurgeGuard is one of the companies that I do recommend. The one thing that was brought to my attention back a few weeks ago about SurgeGuard, which I thought was kind of unique, was the fact that they will go ahead and reimburse you for damage done to your RV if you're using their surge protector. That's kind of a unique in the industry. So check that out if you're looking for a surge protector. So they have been 30, and of course they have them also in the 50 amp. The next one that I'm going to talk to you about is Progressive Industries. Now, the reason why I like Progressive Industries, and I don't know, is everybody able to see that okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're able to see that okay. So this is the 50 amp surge protector. Sorry, I thought I opened the 30, but apparently I opened the 50. But again, Progressive Industry, what I like about Progressive is the fact that this is American made, lifetime warranty. And the way that they handle their warranty nowadays is you call them, explain the problem. They determine that it's a bad unit. They just send you out a new one. You don't even have to return the old one. And now they have the protective cover, as you can see, to protect it from water. Now, by the way, all of these the surge guards and the Progressive, you can get them as where they're hardwired into your camper as well. What I'm showing you here is just the portable units. Now, you're looking to spend, if you're looking at a 30 amp camper, you could be spending anywhere from $250 to about $280, and then the 50 amp, it could be anywhere from $380 to like $420 for the Progressive or the surge guard. So keep that in mind, but it's money well spent. They have this little metal clip on here, which I do like. So you can put a cable through there so that you can protect it so it doesn't grow legs and walk away on it. You know how that might happen, right? So that's one thing I like about the Progressive Industries. With the surge guard, they got some other contraption you got to buy, and then you got to figure out a way to lock that down as well. So look at that. I'm sure they'll probably change that. So you have that in 50 and 30. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is they have this thing, it's called Watchdog. Now, Watchdog is from a, that makes it any bigger. There, that makes it a little bit bigger for you. Watchdog is from Hughes Transformer. And these things do the same thing. They're going to go ahead and give you protection for all those things we talked about. But the biggest difference where they're going to be doing is the fact that they are wireless. So they're going to go ahead and Bluetooth. I said wireless. They're going to give you Bluetooth data going directly to your phone, which I think is quite intriguing. So they have these in 30 and 50 amp as well. And you can see it's marked right on here. Now, one thing that's not marked on there, although they do say it on their website, because this is what I was concerned about, is it doesn't mention about low voltage, but they do specifically say on their website that this thing will cut power in the event of surges or low voltage. Now, the difference with the Watchdog is that they claim that it only takes 4 seconds for them to run a check to see if the power is good at your pole, whereas with the surge guard and your Progressive Industries, it's going to take a little over 2 minutes for them to do a diagnostic to make sure that what you're hooking to is good power. So that is the Watchdog by Hughes Transformer. Now, then they came up with this other one, which I thought was phenomenal. You can get it in a 30 amp box, or you can get it in let me put this up a little bit bigger, or you can get it in a 50 amp. And what this is more of a voltage booster, which is pretty intriguing because that's where you run into the most of the problem. The downside of these is they're not protected. They're not made for the weather. So if it's heavy, if it's raining, you need to come up with some way of keeping the water off of them. Now, the other thing I would tell you to do, that if you're going to be using one of these systems, is I would highly recommend that you use one of the EMS surge protectors that we talked about. And that's more of an electrical management system type thing, managing your power. Because the fact that the way that this works, I would just want to have that additional. These things you're looking at spending on a 30 amp one about $450 and about $750 for a 50 amp. But quite the setup that they have here. And here's what happens is, and I'm told that there's some campgrounds that don't like or will not allow you to use these. Of course, I don't know how they're going to track that. They're going to have somebody that's pretty, they're going to have to go out there and be watching people when they're hooking up and actually seeing what they're doing. Because the way that this thing works is, in the event that you have low voltage, and when they say low voltage, when it gets down to 113 volts, it'll boost your power up to 10%. And that'll do it all the way, and then they cut off at 90 volts. Now, when you're looking at the Progressive Industries and the Surge Guard, theirs are set up for low voltage, and they'll cut you off at about 103, 102 volts. So that's another reason why I was saying I would not personally want to be running something lower than that. But I guess if they're boosting it 10%, I still think they're not hitting that threshold of the 102, 103 volts. But these are quite the systems that you may want to consider getting for those of you that maybe you've ran into issues with low voltage out there. Quite the system to have. So, anybody have any Maureen? Were there any questions so far on these? Let me go back over here. I'm going to kind of look through here and see. And by the way, I am not an electrical engineer. As I tell people, I know enough to be dangerous. I could always put you in touch with people that can talk about these things, but I can guarantee you one thing, that if you're using one of these systems in a campground and you have a problem and it cuts power off to your coach and it's telling you, that's what I like about the progressive industries, because the way that the readout is, it tells you exactly what the problem is. You're able to tell the campground that. I can't tell you how many times I've had customers that are using the progressive industry one and it tells them what the problem is, and somebody from the campground, because they're a quote electrician, they come up and tell them, hey, by the way, you don't need that. Take that thing out of the equation. Next thing we know, I see them and they're in for service because something got screwed up on their RV. So keep that in mind. Don't ever take that out of the equation if you have one. So, ready? Yes, sir.
New Vision Security Services.
Yep.
Do you recommend the surge protector setup or a hardwire?
Okay, so let me see where so Blake there, some people call him Balaki. It all depends on who your teacher was. Surge protector setup. So either you have a portable or hardwired. Hardwired is going to be a little more expensive. Some people do it themselves. I know one thing with the progressive industries, they actually give you a remote kind of a setup so that you can see if you have a problem and you're able to see it. And you can actually shut off your surge protector, although I don't recommend that if you wanted to. But it comes down to your pocketbook. Difference being in ballparkish, a 30 amp costs you about, let's say, under $300 if you're getting a portable. Hardwire is going to cost you closer to $600 or more installed. So assuming that somebody's installing it for you. If you're doing it yourself because you got the wherewithal, that's great. You'll save yourself the labor because, as you know, when you have things done, labor a lot of times it could be more than the part itself. And I see Wayne is camping there at Circle M in Lancaster. Well, that's awesome, Wayne. Hope you're enjoying it out there. Ready? Was there another question here?
Roy says might want to get order hooking up electrical from RV to pedestal.
Okay, Roy, a good question here. Well, not question, but I appreciate you putting this in here. So the way you hook up, when you have a portable, I would say a portable surge protector that we were talking about, you're plugging that in at the pedestal at the campground. And then you're plugging your electrical cord into it. Now, I'd also recommend that if you're somewhere and you're hooking up, let's say you're using an adapter, you're going from a 30 down to a 15 or 20 amp, that you do plug in your adapter first and plug the surge protector into your adapter, and then of course your camper into the surge protector. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You always want to make sure that you're plugged in. And now you don't have to worry about that if you have it hardwired, because then that takes it out of the equation. That's all done for you. It's out of sight, out of mind. So there we go. Good to hear that there. And I do appreciate you mentioning that there, New Vision. Let's see what else we might have here. I know that he says he prefers a hardwire. And again, it comes down to your pocketbook, right? Your budget. People always ask me, can I do this? Can I do that? And I always tell them, sure you can. I mean, it all depends on whether or not you can afford it. That's what it comes down to. Appreciate Brian being in the room here this evening. Thanks for showing up. Now, I want to talk about one other issue that I see, and I see this every single year. And I'm going to go back to And it normally happens when somebody goes to have a 30 amp outlet. And by the way, this is a 30 amp RV outlet. Just make that a little bigger for you here. This is a 30 amp outlet if you're having this installed at your house. And what happens is, all too often, a lot of times you're asking the electrician, and it's a buddy of yours, you know, so he's going to do it on the cheap, right? It's not going to cost you as much money. So you think anyway, right? So what happens is your buddy electrician looks at that and he says, oh yeah, that's just like a dryer plug. And he wires you up, runs 240 to it. Now, if you're using the Progressive Industry 30 amp surge protector, it would protect you and it would not let power go to the coach. I'm not sure about the Watchdog, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that the Surge Guard has integrated that into their surge protector. If you have one of the older ones, it was not on their surge protector. So another reason why, when you don't get power and you're using your surge protector, why you listen to your surge protector. It's there to protect you. So keep in mind, it is a 30 amp 110. Now, I say 110, and I say it all the time in my videos, and of course, I get the quote expert electricians that tell me, Paul, it's not 110, it's 120. Well, if you take a look at the stickers, and I had to go ahead and show that in one of my videos, the sticker right on the camper, if you'll look at it for your 30 amp, it specifically says 110 to 125. Most people know what you're talking about when you say 110. And that's really all that matters. It's 110, 60 hertz, and you know, it's 30 amps. So if you're having one of these put in your house for your RV, a 30 amp, make sure that they put it as 110. The 50 amp is two 110 legs. So, you know, that's 240, which is a little different. So understand that. Now, keep in mind, I know I just said something, and some of you might be saying, well, Paul, doesn't make sense. Let me just pull up this 50 amp one and show you what I'm talking about. So this is a 50 amp plug. If you're going to have one of these installed at your house. And what you have is, you have a leg here that's 110 and 110. And of course, you have your ground and neutral. So what happens with that, if you have a 30 amp coach and you go to a RV park and you're going to plug into 50 amp and you're using a 30 amp to 50 amp adapter, understand you're only going to get one of the 110 legs. You're not going to be getting hit with 220 to your coach, so you'll be okay. So they do make an adapter that can adapt you down so you can plug into this if you had a 30 amp coach. So hopefully that helps you out there. Now, with that being said, does anybody have any questions about what we've covered here this evening? Then I want to go over a couple other things here, just kind of give you updates on the industry. I'm going to give it a few moments. You know, I always watch you channels out there that, you know, you have two of you, and it flows very, very well, and the questions seem to be coming in better. When I'm doing all the talking, it's a little bit different. So does anybody have any questions on what we covered here this evening? Okay, well, listen, with that being said, I just want to kind of give everybody like an update again. Did you say something came through? Okay. On the industry, I'll tell you, it is still crazy out there. You know, here I thought coming into July, maybe things would start slowing down. We're actually crazier this month than we were last month. And June was even busier than May. It's going to have to slow down at some point, but what we're running into now is obviously an inventory issue, and that's where the backups becoming. You're going to find also, for those of you that might be looking for supplies, you go into a lot of RV dealers and you walk into the parts store, you're going to find parts could be scarce. I know I had one couple, we didn't have the rear observation camera that was supposed to be fit on their camper. Today I had a gentleman in. All we needed was a simple 4-way to 7-way plug. Didn't have that. We had to just install a 7-way plug on his vehicle. So there's going to be a shortage out there until there is time for the manufacturers to catch up with the demand that has increased considerably. So that's even on the supply side. We're seeing it also with the units. So be patient out there, and be patient with the salespeople out there and even the parts associates, because we are inundated with people that are coming in with appointments, without appointments. And of course, somebody walking in the dealership, we can't ignore them to stop and make the phone calls that we need to make. So do be patient with us. It is very frustrating not being able to get back to people. And then, of course, the question is, how late do you go ahead and call them? You know, we close at 7. I'm leaving there at 8:30, and I'm like, geez, do I want to make one more phone call? And, just worried that, maybe I'm just calling at the wrong time for people. So be patient with people out there. A lot of things going on, and best thing you could do is, if for some reason you slip through the cracks, shoot them a text message, give them a call, shoot them an email, just as a reminder, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. Let's see what. I'll tell you, there aren't. You're right about that, Blake. It is crazy out there, and that's what we're having. But we're having. I'm being told that we're going to be having roughly 20 to 30 new RVs coming to the lot each week. Although, with that in mind, of those 20 to 30, we might have anywhere from 15 to 20 of them already sold, because that's what's happening now. People want things, and they want it now. And I'll tell you, there's no better way to get out there and create memories that are going to last a lifetime. Heck, you can't. A lot of vacations, you can't. Maybe you don't want to go to a hotel. Maybe you don't want to fly. Maybe you don't want to go on a cruise ship. But what better way? You could stay local and still get out and have great family time. You could go ahead and, now a lot of people are working from home. Heck, jump in an RV and go see the country. If you're working remotely, you can work remotely from anywhere. It's just incredible, the advantage that you have, and take advantage of it. I know we're getting a lot of people that are doing that. So, I try to keep it short here this evening, or all the time. I just want to give you important information that I feel that you need, so that you can experience the RV camping experience without having the issues that so many other people do have. So I do appreciate you joining me here this evening. Do check back in again next week. I see somebody's coming through. Hold on, I'll come back to that. But every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, and I'm still working on doing an introduction to Make-A-Wish. Working on having an interview with the CEO as well as the owners there at Beckley's Camping Center. And I tell you, we're going to have a big announcement when we do that. I guarantee you that. And let's see what we have here. Wayne was saying we want to get a new RV by next camping season. Current trailer. Well, I tell you what, here's the thing on that, Wayne. I would tell you that once your camping season is over, put your camper up and sell it. Sell it while the market is hot. And whether you'll get top dollar for it, and then get your camper next year, if not this year. Get it early. But the other thing you might want to consider doing is, whichever camper you're looking at getting, check the availability. I would tell you probably 3-4 months prior to when you want to make that decision happen, because it could be 3 to 4 months, depending on what trailer you're getting or which ones you're looking at, before they have been in. I know there's one manufacturer right now, New Camp. We got a few things hitting the lot, but if these things don't meet the individual's expectations, or they're, from an option standpoint, it's going to be November before they can get one if we ordered it this week. And that's only going to continue to push back and push back. I have some of their campers, it's January. So keep that in mind. Hopefully that helps you. And again, I do appreciate you all coming in here to give me a thumbs up if you're liking what I'm putting down here. And oh, it looks like Maureen's giving me a wave here. Is when are the best time to buy used or new RV? You know, I tell everybody this: the best time to buy an RV is when you're ready to buy an RV, flat out. If you're buying a used RV, the best time to buy it is when you find what you want, because at used RV, it's so hard to find that specific trailer. So buy it when you're ready is my recommendation. Because here's the other reason. You know, if you were buying now, if something was on the lot now versus next year, well, the interest rates are probably at their best that they've ever been at. The camper price, even let's say that it's higher than it was 2 months ago, it's still going to be lower than it would have been 6 months or 8 months from now. So buy it when you're ready. And then let's see. Roy said, should power be off? Yes, Roy. You never want to have like your air conditioner on or any 110 appliance on when you're when you're plugging in. I know some people tell you to shut the breakers off at the pedestal. You know, I don't think that that's a big deal. But because if you have a surge protector and you have the breaker on, when you plug the surge protector in, and you plug your camper into it, understand that it's going to go through a check, so it's not instantly hitting that power to your camper. So appreciate that. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, George. Appreciate that, Tom and Catherine. And we will be seeing you all next week. So thanks again, and do appreciate you stopping by. Whether you're watching me live or whether you're watching me on replay, do give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and I'll be catching up with you again soon. Take care.